What's going on?
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go,
What's going on?
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding. From the words I spit, so sharp, so freezing, so cold. Behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts feeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love the feeling. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll still be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll still be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If you wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
175 shows, and we never had this kind of glitch
Ever?
ever. My camera just shut down. The intro paused for a second. I have a feeling I know exactly what's happening here, but we'll talk about it. But Ken, uh, entertain everybody. I'll be right back.
Okay, sure. Welcome, everybody. It's Sunday night. It's Dead Air. And we have a rocking show for you tonight. We have been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks now. We are going to discuss the phenomenon of haunted dolls. And we're going to take a little bit of a different route to that right now, because typically these things are presented to us as evil or malevolent or aggressive and so forth. And that's not always the case, because there's a lot of sensationalism involved in this. Some of you know probably what's going down in New Orleans, where you've got excuse me, Annabelle being paraded around, and people are losing their minds over that. So we're going to come to this from a different type of angle tonight, in as much as our guest is going to talk about the other side of that. And we're going to talk a little bit about how do these objects become haunted? How exactly do they play out in the public consciousness, and how people approach them? So hang around for that. That should be good. I think we're having some kind of glitches tonight, but we'll work through them. And George can catch up here. As is usually the case, I'll jump in with our guest and discuss some of this and sort of get the ball rolling. If you have comments, we'll put them up there. If you have questions, we will get to them for sure, for sure. And this we, okay. George is exiting and returning. Killed his camera. He killed his camera. It's over. So we'll give him a couple of seconds. So hope you all had a great week, and thanks for joining us again this weekend. There is a lot going on in the paranormal world. There's a lot going on right here on Dead Air. Recently, a new Last Bite premiered, and I hope you enjoyed that. We made peach cobbler this time. For those who aren't familiar with it, Last Bite is one of the shows that we do where we take recipes that have been engraved on tombstones all over the country. And we try to faithfully recreate those recipes and try them out a little bit later on in the show. And so far, we're running, I think, 3 for 3 on those. The peach cobbler was excellent. O'Neill Bogan, the late O'Neill Bogan, has donated that to us. So that would be great. So let's check in here, keep trying to fix it. Okay. So without further ado, we're going to get to this right away. And our guest, very excited to have her. So as stated, today we're diving into haunted dolls with a guest who knows a little bit something about the subject. She has millions of views on TikTok, a growing collection of haunted dolls and real-life experiences that will give you pause for thought. Paranormal Teej has become a must-follow for lovers of the spooky and strange. From dolls that move on their own, and we've got some video tonight, everybody out there, yay, that she's been gracious enough to submit to us to display some of these things. So dolls that move on their own to encounters that defy logic. Teej puts the super and supernatural like few others do. So let's get into it. Let's welcome to Dead Air, Paranormal Teej.
Hello.
Hello there.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, no, it's a pleasure to have you on, really. I mean, you have amassed quite a channel on TikTok and YouTube as well. And when I know that I learned a little bit about your approach to this, I was really excited to have you on and to join us because you have a little bit different perspective. George is back. Don't pay the ransom. He escaped.
I'm like, I hope I'm not to blame for those glitches.
You are absolutely to blame for what's going on. How many times have I had camera issues, Ken, in the last 3 years? Goose egg.
Grand total of like none, I don't think.
Goose egg. You come on with your fancy dolls and look what's happening here.
They usually mess with me. It's not usually everybody else.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know what's
I got to
going
take
on.
care of a little housework here, so bear with me.
Yeah, and I'm looking also in chat. Are you seeing any chat comments?
Not yet, but I'm going to take care of that.
Oh, you're working on it from your end. What did you do, Teej?
Nothing. I've just been sitting here.
Oh, my spirits are all good spirits, and I don't think that they like. I think they like you going on there and doing the cam stuff. But
they're good, but they're mischievous. They do play pranks, and they do play pranks well.
have you done other interviews?
Yeah, and we usually have something happen on them.
This is unreal. And again, from the chat side of it, Ken, I don't know how you're fixing it, but God bless you if you can figure it out.
Yeah, I think that we'll be okay. We're rocking now. We're good.
I don't see
so
any
if anybody's in chat, jump in there right now. We're a little late on the gun. I apologize. It's been a tough week, man. I just sinus issues and then it's just awful. So
I don't want to hear it. It was 96 on Friday, 98 yesterday, and 96 again today here in Florida. I'm over it. I'm over it. But I'm inside with the air conditioning, so I won't blame that on the computer issues tonight. There's only one person, initials PJ, that or PT, I should say, is responsible for this without question. Anyway, I jumped in the middle of something, Ken. I really apologize. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, my camera is frozen again too. What the blue hell? I'm getting off screen. I'm going to try working on this.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So while everybody in chat is wondering where the heck are we, everything's been set to public. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so let's start off by tell us a little bit about something about yourself that maybe people don't get a full picture of on social media beyond the idea that you're a collector. What else do you do, Teej?
So honestly, I have been really into the paranormal since I was a kid, which is kind of, I think, an interesting side of my story that I don't get to talk about enough. My mom is actually a professional psychic medium, so I was very much raised in a family that is paranormal friendly. I think I was probably like 4 or 5 when I went on my first ghost hunt. I mean, I remember using like the OG obelisk like a million years ago when I was a kid and all of those things. And so I was kind of raised in that mindset of like the paranormal is something to be curious about and something to explore. It's not something that needs to be feared. And I think when you learn that as a child, as an adult, you kind of have a different mindset about things because so much fear is built just from being jaded and having those experiences. And I feel like because I was kind of raised in this and, my family talked about the paranormal at holidays and, my other relatives have lived in haunted houses. I lived in a haunted house, and so because of that, I was always just so curious about it. And I was never fearful just because I wasn't raised that way. So to me, like the paranormal is normal, it's nothing
Mhm.
unusual. And I love it so much for that reason. So haunted dolls was not the first step in my journey. It was just a step in how we ended up here.
Outstanding, outstanding. So, um, did you grow up with paranormal experiences?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, did this interest come to you organically in life, or did you have a come to Jesus moment at some point?
I think I had paranormal experience. Like my first paranormal experience was probably at like 5 or 6. We actually would boat at a marina that was known for paranormal activity. It was just common knowledge that the place was haunted. There, every story people had something, and so my family used to go on ghost hunts together there for fun. And as a kid, I think the first like true paranormal experience that I would say was very valid that I now like look at in a totally different lens, especially now that I have so much more experience with positive spirits. But we were using the obelisk and we were like in the parking lot with an EMF and all the gear, and the obelisk went off and it said like get out of the way fast or something like that. And we were like, oh, and we all just kind of like moved out of the way out of the parking lot. And like right at that moment, somebody like flew around the corner in their car. I think it may have been like a drunk driver or something like that, just the way they were driving, flew around the corner. And if that obelisk had not said, move, get out of the way, we probably would have been hit by that car. So that was kind of my big like light up moment of like, whoa, there might be something to this. That same night we had like knocking on the dock like over and over. We could hear like knocking and we would knock and it would knock back to us, and things like that. And so I think those kind of experiences were my first experiences that I remember, that stand out to me.
Okay. So that leads us to what was the first haunted doll you ever owned? And how did you come into possession of it?
So my first haunted doll was Lana, who's right here. She has the little duck vessel. um
Okay.
I was always very interested in haunted dolls. Like I, had read books and watched the movies and, read about them however I could. I didn't know you could just go buy them. I thought it was like something that just came into your possession and showed up one day and you had it and you got lucky. I didn't know you could go buy them. So I actually sought out a haunted doll and I purchased her, knowing she was haunted with a bio. Lana is the reason why we do all of this and we kept going. We just had such an amazing experience with her. I do have to say, like, as somebody involved in the paranormal, like I'm really, really big into evidence and like I want to see it and I want to capture it to believe it. Like a story is just a story without evidence for me. And so, I had seen all of these haunted doll stories, but I was kind of still a little bit skeptical and I was like, I want to experience this for myself. And Lana proved herself to me on day one. She's very communicative. She's very sweet. She's very protective. She's the spirit of an 18-year-old from the 1800s. After working with her for about 6 months, I would say, maybe it was more than 6 months, but we pieced together her story in a variety of spirit box sessions, and she gave us such verifiable information about herself that we were able to actually locate her grave. She had given us her first name, her last name, the year she was born, the year she passed, what state she was buried in. I mean, she gave us all of this information, and I couldn't find a match. And I was getting really frustrated, and I was like, maybe we got something wrong. And she kept coming back on Spirit Box and saying, like, what about your quest? You know, like, are you working on it? And
Right.
she just really wanted that from us. And we didn't piece it together, but Lana was a nickname, we found out. Because one day she was like, my real name's Lucinda. And we were like, we didn't know that. And then, because, 1800s, they didn't have Google. She didn't know I couldn't just Google up her nickname and find her. But once she gave us that first name and we paired it with the last name she had given us in previous sessions in the years, we were able to locate her grave. All of her family's history matched up to what she had given us, down to like her parents' professions. I mean, it was just such a validating experience for me that A, I was making a difference, and B, like, this is real. I've had a million this is real moments, but it was just a very much this is real. Like, I literally found a grave based on information I got in a spirit box session. So it was really cool.
Yeah. The thing I want to ask about that is it's the age-old thing now. The idea of a haunted doll, is that in complete defiance of physics? Because energy cannot be put into an inanimate object. So do you think that the dolls themselves are animate, or do you think that there is a spirit or entity that is attached to them that maybe comes in visitation, or for whatever reason comes back to check on them, something that might have been cherished by them? I'm not sure. I go with the idea that the doll itself is possessed or something like that, but there might be an accompanying factor. So talk to us a little bit about, as a collector, how you see that.
So I love this question. This is such a good question. And I think that it's something that's very misunderstood as well about haunted dolls. I think people do think like it is the object. The object is, when it's moving, it's the object. In my experience with my own collection, from what I have captured on video, from talking to them, the way we see it is the object is just a vessel for them, and a majority of them are not bound to that vessel. So they can come and go, and we kind of refer to like the doll or the object, whatever it is that they use, as more of a home base for them. So they are in and out, and sometimes it is that case where like a spirit owned that object when they were alive, and so it is just something that they keep coming back to. Like Mia, who's right here, she owned the stuffed animal when she was alive. She's a little kid.
Okay.
So, it was something that was meaningful to her. But they come and go. I always say, like, my haunted dolls, these spirits are out of their vessels way more than they are in their vessels. Like this is a room upstairs in my house, but we have paranormal activity 2 floors down. We have paranormal activity in our kitchen. We have paranormal activity all over our house. And so they are in and out. Kind of a way I can monitor that too that's been really cool is the inconsistency at the vessel. So if they are like around or in their vessel, we will have activity from them when we put them next to equipment and when we're working with them. But we call it out of office when they're like, it's just our joke, is they're out of office when they have left their vessel. And so, you can try to run equipment all day, and if they're not here, they're not here. Nothing's going to go off. It's just an object at that point when the spirit is not around it. So to me, it's more of a home base. A lot of times what I've noticed is it is children's spirits, a lot of young adult spirits, teenagers, people with traumatic deaths, and things like that, who kind of are looking for more of like a sense of identity, because they didn't have enough life to live. So, it kind of gives them a way to be seen, in a way that they would not be able to be seen if they didn't have that vessel. So they're not necessarily like, it's not, a teddy bear and there's a spirit inside and he lives in this doll and he's moving it. He is like, he comes and he goes, and he's either there or he's not. But we do have more paranormal activity in our house than actually at the vessel generally.
Okay. A quick note to everybody in chat. We see you there. We know you're watching, but for whatever the reason, we're having some problems with the chat tonight. So we do apologize for that. And then maybe it'll kick on a little bit later. So our apologies. Hang in there with us. It's going to be a great show. So essentially, Teej, you're saying that, spirits have free will. They're not trapped inside of an inanimate object, which is something I subscribe to because, again, it's in defiance of physics, which the paranormal, you can make the argument it defies physics anyway, known physics. But I don't necessarily think that when a doll is animate and doing these things, that there's some kind of soul or animation inside of them. I have always thought it's more of an outside force, which is why you try to investigate these things, whether it's with pieces of equipment or whatever, that can also be reacted to by a spirit, because we're not looking for a doll to reach down and press a button or make a light go off or anything like that. So I'm glad that you think along the same lines that, because a lot of times, these dolls are, again, cursed, malevolent, evil. But I think that we've been conditioned to think that way because of media, because of movies, because of literature. So talk to us a little bit about how you feel about how we view these type of things and the influences that I just mentioned have on us.
Yeah, so I think that's a huge problem with haunted dolls in general. I think haunted locations are way more accepted. We've seen a lot more of it. I also think, just like from a psychological standpoint in general, there are people who have fears of dolls who aren't haunted. Like, dolls are just something people a lot of times are not into. They think they're creepy already. They're like too close to looking human. It freaks people out, just in general. So then you pair paranormal activity with something that a lot of people already have fear of, and you get like this just automatic negativity surrounding it. Not to mention, we have a lot more media about haunted locations. There's been a lot more that's been found, and haunted objects. You think about all of the haunted objects who are famous, right? We have Annabelle going on her world tour right now, and people are attributing burning buildings and everything else to her just entering the state. I don't personally subscribe to that. I just think, bad things happen, and that's a mere coincidence. She just happens to be in a state where something happens. I think that those kinds of stories lend themselves to everything is negative, because human beings like things black and white. Things that are as gray as the paranormal is very difficult for people. And so, when you have the most famous cases out there, like Annabelle, like Robert the Doll, who have all been attributed as evil, or whatever it may be, they just assume, oh, okay, well, I've seen the Conjuring movies, so your haunted dolls must be evil too. And it's simply not the case. I will say, I live with a lot of haunted dolls. I've never had an injury. I've never had an incident in that way. I've never had, been attacked or any of those things that people attribute to haunted objects. My, conversations are always quite pleasant with them. So
you're going to have to work on that.
What?
You're going to have to work on that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I started with the social media stuff, is just kind of trying to break down some of those boundaries and, give people an inside view into what I live with, because what I live with paranormal activity wise is much different than what is, all over Hollywood. Hollywood has turned the
Yeah.
paranormal into a thing of its own. And it's crazy out there.
Yeah, we often say that we have a thing as humans where we like to be scared because we're pretty sure at the end of it, we can just pull back and retreat, whether it's a movie, whether it's a story, whatever, but we like that little adrenaline rush there.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes dolls give it to us. So another question, there's so many I want to ask is, let's jump ahead a little bit here. What is it about dolls that frightens us so much? We are afraid of dolls. I mean, you can put, haunted objects, there are paintings, there are cars, there are
Oh,
many
yeah.
things. But what is it about dolls? Do you think it's just because maybe they resemble us so much that we look at it through that lens? Like, what is it about dolls that freaks everybody out?
There's something called the uncanny valley effect, which basically, like, our brains don't like things that look so close to something else but aren't it. So, a doll can look pretty close to human, but it's
Mhm.
not human. And so it just feels off to us because we expect it to look a certain way. And our brain is programmed to think, like, it is supposed to look like this. It doesn't. What's wrong with it? So I think that plays a big role in the fear of dolls in general. But again, like you said, it's not just dolls that are haunted, right? I mean, it could be anything. I've seen jewelry, I've seen music boxes, I've seen mirror, I mean, anything out there. I just think that dolls for spirits are a popular choice. People are like, why is it so commonly dolls? I think it's a popular choice because, for the same reason that we as humans, a lot of people are afraid of dolls looking close to real, to a spirit, that's appealing, right? Because it kind of gives them that sense of self back that they lost in their passing. They have a look, they have, something to refer to, that becomes a sense of identity. And, to me, that makes a lot of sense because as humans, as living people, like, we all want a sense of identity. We all want to feel like we're seen and we, belong somewhere. And for spirits too, I see that a lot where it's like, I just want to be seen and this is my way of doing it. And hopefully you notice me. I find that a lot of times the spirits who, are using objects as vessels are spirits who do want to be seen. They do want to interact. And that's why they choose something that is so obvious to people.
Mhm. It's interesting because I would love to get into the psyche of some of these owners because dolls, for a lot of people, become almost like a friend. And depending on what their life is like, maybe they're an only child, maybe they're in a rather dysfunctional family, the doll becomes a confidant. You become very close to it. A doll listens.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't give you a lot of crap back, so you can pour your soul out to it. And it always makes me wonder if there's a common denominator between all the former owners, because these dolls meant so much to them. Because if not, why come back to what exactly? Check to see what conditions they're now, living in, who's taking care of them, or is it just that kind of affinity? So that's why I would love, and I don't know any way of doing it, but I would love to know how the original owners, their mindset, and if there's something common there that follows over into the idea that there's such an attachment to these objects.
And I think that's why a thorough investigation and an ethical investigation is so important, is because so often, like you said, people are very emotionally attached to dolls, even ones that aren't haunted. And as a result, I can't tell you how many messages I get a week from people. Oh, I think I have a haunted doll. I think I have a haunted doll. And I'm like, okay, what have you experienced? Like, let me help you with that. And 99% of the time I get, oh, well, nothing. And I'm like, well, how do you know it's haunted? And they're like, I just feel like it is. And very often I think it's just, we pour so much energy into an object, like an object can be energy charged just because we put so much, love and attention and kindness into it or whatever. Even grief in some cases, some people, their loved one may have owned, a teddy bear and they passed away. And so that object reminds them of their loved one who passed. And so, people attribute a lot of traits to objects, which is why I think, those thorough investigations are so important, because it's so easy to just, call an object haunted just because it makes you feel a certain type of way. And I don't deny that an object is making you feel a certain type of way, but I don't think it's necessarily a haunted object. I think it's just you're feeling the energy that was put into that object from somebody who loved it. And that happens a lot.
Yeah, and let us not forget too, if we're going back to generations and generations, and there's one that sticks out in my mind, a lot of dolls were fashioned to resemble the children that they were going to be given to. And immediately Robert the Doll comes to mind with Eugene Otto, the sailor suit, because that was his, clothing of choice back then. So I don't know if these kind of become tulpas, or like, this sort of physical representation that maybe people who are so endeared to them, and I'm not going to go with the energy transference thing, but the emotional transference, because they are, and probably still are to some degree, someone looks at a picture of you somewhere and says, I think I'm going to make a doll that resembles that young lady. And now you don't know it, but there's some doll out there looking like Paranormal Teej that you're not getting any royalties to. And the thing is, show me a little love here, folks, but you know what I'm saying,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that plays a lot into the culture of this type of thing. So let me ask you this, right? In collecting these things, I want you to take us through the process of, have you ever had to break up with any dolls because there was just like the vibe wasn't there? Or it's like, what are your guardrails and your criteria? Do you alone select? I mean, obviously you do. No one's forcing dolls on you. But I would imagine, and you just touched on it, whether it's followers or whatever want to give you these things. So I don't know, where are your boundaries on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, it's very important for me that I am a good fit for the spirit, as well as the spirit's a good fit for me. So, I'm typically not going to bring a spirit into my house who, my lifestyle is in direct conflict with. Like, there are some haunted dolls who they're like, oh, really wants to be in a house with no pets. Okay, well, I have 7 animals, so this isn't going to work. Or, they're interested in a whole bunch of things. Or, they're a very conservative spirit and, they like a house a certain way and my house doesn't match that. It's really important for me not to get just collecting heavy, and really focus on like what's best for that spirit, and is my house a match for what they're looking for. Because at the end of the day, like, there's a degree of, they're spending their afterlife with me, and I don't want them to be miserable here either, right? And I also think, when you are in conflict with the spirit and you're not in agreement and your house isn't a match, that's when you start getting into some of those, like, paranormal problems people talk about. And so for me, I look for spirits that I connect to, that maybe they're similar to me, they have similar interests, or they have a similar personality to another spirit I have in my house who I think maybe they'll get along with, or something like that. I do only bring positive spirits into my house. The reason for that, again, is I love doing this. I'm very passionate about it. But I do have to put guardrails on my own home, because, I don't want to feel unsafe in my own home. I don't want my husband or my animals, to be in danger. So I'm not going to bring a spirit into my home that's going to be, a liability to my safety or anybody who comes into my house's safety either. So again, I think, there are people who do that, and more power to them. That's just not me, because, I want to keep my sanity, and, my house is my safe space. I'll do those things on investigations when I go places, but it's another thing when you're living with them. So I need to have signs of safety, because again, I can live with all of these haunted dolls and feel completely comfortable in my own home. I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to worry that I'm going to get hurt. And that for me, like, I need that sense of peace in my house. I don't know. Everybody's got different things. That's just how my house works. I have only ever had 2 haunted objects that I got rid of. One was a spirit who the haunted doll was given to me. And she came here and she was like, your house is too loud. Your spirits are obnoxious and crazy, and it's just too much. And so she wanted to go to somebody who did not have a collection like I have. And so she got passed on actually to a family member. So she lives with a relative of mine now, and is very happy with one other haunted doll, not a whole collection. I did have another one who was interesting. I did not buy this haunted doll. It was actually not a doll. It was an object. It was like a crystal cat statue I had in my house for probably 15 years. Never had any activity on it. And like one day it just starts showing all of these signs. And, we ran tests on it. We were able to validate who it was. It was a woman named Sandra, who was actually basically an angry ex of this guy up here, CL. And, he had been looking for her and things like that. And she basically stayed here to make.
Okay. Hey, simmer down back there. Simmer down back there.
It was my tripod that just got knocked over. Talking about her pisses them off. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? We're going to get into some. We're going to get into some clips of this, and we're going to do that right now. Yeah. I just have a quick question for you. Do you find that certain dolls that you possess, and not that they're in any way aggressive, malevolent, did you ever find dolls that are in conflict with each other?
Yes. And that is what Sandra was, which is why that tripod just got knocked over.
Yeah.
She had a thing about witches. She was terrified of witches, and like it was religious based. And I have quite a few that are here, and she was just tormenting everybody because of their belief systems. And so, my house got a little gross at that time. And so we did rehome her to a home that was a better fit and did not have spirits of witches, and she's been totally fine, no problem there whatsoever. But here it was like she was a menace. I mean, but wow. She's totally fine where she is. So I truly believe in, like, after that experience, sometimes it's not a bad spirit, sometimes it's a bad fit, and like that was a good example.
Sure. Personality conflict. Do you ever find you got to put on your mom voice, like, all right, settle down over there, all of you, knock it off?
Yes. Yes. We have had some shenanigans, like serious shenanigans.
Shenanigans. I love it. No shenanigans in here.
It's always for fun too, but it's like another thing when I'm like trying to sleep in the middle of the night and you can hear, like, it sounds like a stampede of elephants in the hallway. I'm like, okay, guys, like, I gotta sleep, please.
Yeah. Now, the first couple of clips here, and we're going to be muted on these because they are videos, I think, anyway. But the first 2 are only a few seconds long to give you an idea of some or part of the collection. So let's take a look. All right, who are we looking at here?
That is Christy, who's down here. Christy is a doll I cannot keep on her shelf ever. So I put her up and she comes off. And if we walk by, like she used to be up here. The reason she's down here now is because she would always drop stuff on my head too, like little marbles and stuff. I'd walk past and they'd get shoved at me. And I was like, I'm going to get a head injury from you, Christy. So now she's down here. And we love her, but she's really silly. So like the second you put her on her shelf, she's good, she's stable. And then you go to walk away and then she goes for it. The other thing that she does is she will take down other haunted dolls around her. So sometimes all 3 of them will be on the ground. And so I have to be particular about roommates for her because they all have to be soft. You'll notice she's by nobody porcelain because she takes everybody down. She will, and I think I sent you other videos of her too. Like She'll
Yeah.
go this way and slide down, but she'll also go this way and kind of like nosedive off of her shelf. She
Okay.
is a teenager and she's just really funny. She loves to mess with music too. She'll set off like the Alexa in my house and like play different rock music. She's like a cool chick from the 80s. But yeah, that is Christy. So Christy is, we joke, Christy's a little bit of a safety hazard because I just cannot keep her like on her shelf and everybody around her. So yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at more of the collection here before I bring George in. We'll get to some of these death-defying maneuvers by some of these dolls here. This is just part of the collection.
So that's Sunny in the middle who moves at the beginning of that clip.
Okay. Very good. It's just 9 seconds long. So now we're going to get to the first clip you showed me, where I think you're having some kind of a light problem here. So let's play this on the overhead ceiling fan, and you can tell us if this is something that's common. It's kind of a nightmare. So do you get those type of things happen with electric interaction and stuff? Are we looking at the right thing there?
Multiple times a day. Multiple times a day. And it happens all over the house, whatever room we're in. That specific one also happened to be Christy. I always like to tell people and show people though, like, this is not a dimmer switch. This is just a regular light switch in this room. I always like to, people are like, are you using a dimmer? No, it's just a regular light switch. But in that particular clip, I was actually on a live on TikTok and I was telling a story about and it just happened. I don't know if you saw that in my room, but
yeah, we're paying attention. We're paying attention.
But I was on a live and I was talking about somebody who had really disrespected Christy, and that really upset her. So she showed everybody what she could do and decided to flicker the light for us all on that live. So that is the making of that one. That was a more extreme one, but yeah.
Okay, so now the next few I'm going to play, they're only a few seconds long. And George, if you want to jump in here, because I know that we're kind of, you can take as much time as you want. But I am going to assume, because you're a level-headed person, you're objective, you don't buy into all the hype. So as we play these, I'm going to make the assumption that you already know about how the dolls are settled, how they're balanced.
Yes.
If it's precarious or they're, solidly put in a place that, so in other words, this doesn't happen twice a week. And at that point, you got to say, well, I got to rearrange these and stabilize them a little bit. So I'm going to go under that assumption. The first one I want to play is a ball falls from a perch in front of a doll. So let's take a look. You got those balanced up there. Okay, so how long was that there? Because obviously you've got a 9-second clip. That thing could have been there for 3 days. We don't.
Right. So in that one, what's interesting about that particular video is typically they interact with the ball, but in that particular video, if you actually go back and watch really closely, Terry, who's on the left, she actually moves her doll to knock that ball down. So it's her vessel that moves. It's not the ball. The ball just gets hit by her. She's just really sneaky about it. So to get those 10-second clips, what I have to do is I put the phone on a tripod recording for, sometimes it's like 15 minutes and then something will happen. Sometimes it's like 3 hours and I leave the room and go do stuff and then check the footage and see if anything happened. For that particular one, she was there for about 25 minutes. That perch has a little indent in it, so the ball rests in it. And I came back and the ball was down and Terry was in a different position, and that was the video I had caught, was she actually moves like this and then the ball gets hit. So
okay, so we're going to look at that again. What should we be focusing on? Not the ball, but what should we be focusing on?
The doll in the overalls. Just watch her closely. Watch her body.
Okay, here we go.
So you see how she moved? Very subtle.
Very subtle. Yes.
Yeah.
Very subtle.
And quick.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
she's sneaky. I've never actually seen her move with my eyeballs. I know she moves because I'll be like in here, and then wherever I end the night, she's usually facing wherever I'm sitting. But it's like this game she plays on me. I've never seen her move with my eyes, but I'll catch her if I leave a camera out for a really long time, and it's always very sneaky like that. It's like just a shift. She doesn't want me to see it for some reason. So that is like my one hidden gem video of Terry, because she's really suspicious and hard to catch.
All right, now we have a book falling off a shelf, so let's take a look at that.
All right.
Whose book was that, Abney?
Abney's book. There it goes.
He.
Quick question. Do you live on a fault line?
No. And I lived in this house for 3 years before I got haunted dolls, and there was zero paranormal activity. Zero.
Wow.
You'll notice real quick, I'm not gonna, but in the first few seconds that those shelves do have a lip on the front of it.
Yes, they do.
It's not sliding down, it topples. Okay.
Yeah, so
I like your reaction where everybody just starts laughing. I love that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it is.
how we are. We're just like, oh, who did it this time? You know, it's very casual. It's very normal to us. But those books, I mean, those books have been there for years. They're always there. They don't fall. You know, they're like smushed in with the lip, and just it got chucked.
Well, I could see you in the window sitting on a sofa, I guess.
Yeah,
But I saw you lean forward
right.
and the book fell. It wasn't one of those sit back, hit the wall, vibration, ball fall.
Right. We weren't even interacting with that. We were actually on the floor. And we had like the spirit car out, and we were playing with equipment with some of the other haunted dolls. And then a different one decided, I guess, to join the party and
Okay.
go for a swipe. So
So now what we have in the next few clips is dolls bungee jumping, I guess.
oh yeah, this was
So
an experience.
Here is one of the uncoordinated dolls who can't keep a balance. So let's take a look.
I do that on my recliner every night.
So that one was from my security camera, and I like zoomed in, which is why the quality is so bad. It was on my
What do you got, a vibration sensor on him?
no, he's wild. I kind of leave him laying down because he was going and just smacking his head on stuff so often. He actually dented my wall. And I was scared he was going to break his head. So now he wears a hat and is propped all the time, so he can't just do that.
Safety helmet.
Yes.
What was the light that went on, though?
So that's called a balloon light. So
Okay.
there's little lights that they wear, and they can turn them on and off themselves.
Okay.
The light is just, I think it went on because of how he tumbled, but
Okay. The next one, you have one next to the window. This is a rather tall doll who takes, I hope, like, you checked her to be concussed after this fall. Okay, again, now I'm looking at, these dolls, how you've got them settled, that if they're stable or not. Yep, there she is on the side of that. So, clearly I'm not going to say, well, they're stacked up, they're unbalanced and everything like that, because I'm going to take it that, you've put these things there and you don't seem like the type of person like, well, this would be a great TikTok video.
no. So she is actually like, I purposely lean her back so she's against the window, and so she won't fall.
Right.
Because I also don't want them to break either. I'm like, I don't love when they fall. So
Why
that's
do you?
interesting. There was a story about why she did that too. So she doesn't fall a lot, and if she does, for a reason. If you look at that particular video, there's like 4 dolls that are sitting in this chair right here before she goes down. We were going to LA to go to TikTok headquarters that night. We were leaving to go to the airport, and all of the dolls who were going with us to TikTok were in that chair. And so I thought it was funny. It was like she put herself in that chair because she like thought she should go or something. And I was like, I can't bring you to the airport. It's not going to work. But she decided to put herself in that pile. She doesn't do that very often. So it's only happened twice before.
It's all about me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And once again, I've got 3 more of these in play before I leave this to George, and we'll come back with some other things. But again, people in chat, we apologize. We've had a glitch in there, and I'm going to take responsibility for, because you got to get to these things before we go live. But I know you're into the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel watching. We thank you for that. As always, subscribe, but please feel free to leave comments in there about this, because I have a feeling this is the first but won't be the last time that Teej joins us on this show, because we'd love to have her back. So let's look at these last couple here. This is an object on the sofa fall.
Himself? Yeah. That's fine. She's having fun.
The beginning, right at the beginning.
Yeah.
With it is himself? Yeah. That's fine. She's having fun.
Okay, is that a hat? Is that a dunce hat on the bear's or elephant's head?
It was a New Year's party. So we actually had friends over. When I have friends over, my house is like lit up. They like love it, and they like to show off for people in person. That's one of their things. So we were just sitting here talking to our friends, playing a game, whatever. And they all had little party hats on, and Mia wasn't having hers, I guess. So
okay. Ceiling fan wasn't on, so that's good
No.
too. Next one is doll shifts position. Yeah. You talking to me?
Yeah, that's Emma.
Where's Emma?
She's right behind me, right here. Hi, Emma.
Hey.
That's Emma.
Hi.
So Emma's actually weighted at the bottom, so it's not that easy to move her. Like even if I poke her, she's kind of hard to move, because she does have like a weight. She's meant to sit. So for her to go this way and that way, it's like not really a natural thing for the way that her specific doll is made.
Even if I poke her, why would you poke her? Why would you poke the bear?
I mean, you have to test these things to make sure there's no outside influence. I like to verify things.
You have to touch them, George. No, thanks. There are probably, and again, I regret the chat situation, but I guarantee you we have people in chat that are going, nope.
Yep. Oh, I'm sure.
Nope, not me. All right, the last one
was even crazier. She was found in a storm shelter that was locked, that somebody turned it into a children's bedroom for the doll. Was found in a christening gown with like 15 crosses on her. Like somebody locked her away in a storm shelter, and she was found by the new owners. So yeah, Emma's an interesting one. She moves a lot though.
Quick story about that. I did a case years ago where a little girl was seeing a doll, and then the parents started seeing the doll moving around, shadow form in their basement. So they believed they built the doll its own room in the basement, gave it a bed, a dresser, and a light. And I came down and I said, please don't do that. Please don't do that. You are just making this, you don't know what this is yet. You're making it way too comfortable. So when you said that immediately, bonk, that clicked in my head. All right, so this is the last large doll. No.
Christy in the nosedives.
Let me. I want to look at the other dolls. I want to make sure that was not a mean girl thing where she was pushed or anything.
Usually she's the pusher.
Nope.
Why did that affect the camera?
Because it hit the outlet on the way down.
Okay.
So like there was a cord there, and she just happened to hit the cord, and it took the camera too. She's like a bulldozer. I actually replaced those shelves that they were on because of Christy, because it was just, she taught all of them how to do it too. So before I had nobody that was moving. And then I got Christy, and Christy started throwing herself. And then once I started laughing about it, then a week later, I had like 6 of them all doing that. And it just got overwhelming. So I replaced the shelves. So it'd be a little bit harder to just fly. They still go, but it's not as bad anymore. I don't want them to fall because I don't want them to break. It's the thing. So yeah.
All right. So, George, if you want to, I leave it up to you. Thanks for your indulgence. Get through some of these videos. Guys, there's more on the backside. So I'm going to get out of here right now if you want to take us to break or whatever, or keep on going. It's up to you and Teej, but I'm going to take a siesta. Teej, I'll be back a little later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. And yeah, we'll probably go to break here. We only got about 3 minutes, but I wanted to address the chat. Yes, I have my phone up. Actually, some of your Star Fox, Danny Boyd, some of your regular followers from TikTok and YouTube are in here tonight. And they were kind of guiding me along saying, well, don't you have someplace? Yes, I've been watching chat, but I'm under author in a Flickr. But I'm in there just trying to read what you guys are doing. Alex Gaska's in there. Hello, Alex. And all of our regular villains are in there as well. Sandy's in there, of course. Jonathan, Joseph. I'm just trying to read it down the way. But we'll, kind of monitor what you guys are saying in there. Of course, we can't get to the questions, and we greatly apologize for this glitch that Teej has created for us tonight. Actually, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be blaming it on Teej. I blame it on the dolls. Frequency, before we go to break, I have that one question. Frequency of anomalies happening with these dolls for you now. How often?
So I would say daily right now. I do have activity daily.
Stop.
From somebody. But you have to keep in mind I have over 50. So I mean, when I had 5 of them, I did not have daily activity. But now I have something. Sometimes it's minor. Happen every day, usually.
Wow. Also, I have to give a shout out because she's requesting the shout out. Cara Della wanted to also be recognized in the chat.
Hello.
Thank you guys all for joining us too. Yeah, when are you going to be putting in a live cam focused right on those dolls?
That's a really fun idea. I've never thought about streaming my security footage live. That's really interesting.
If it's happening daily, yeah. Because who knows
it happens
when
a
you're
lot
not
on my
there.
TikTok lives. I go live 3 times a week, and a lot of, not all the time, but a lot of times we'll have stuff happen on lives where it's just it gets crazy out of nowhere. Usually it's at that 1 in the morning mark, 1 in the morning, and the party usually is starting. We've had
It's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:15 Central.
Yes,
Okay.
is when we go live. So usually that's just me educating, and then if something happens, it happens. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I do try to go live for that reason. I think that's really good evidence. You can see I don't know what that was that I just heard. You can see I'm just sitting there, and talking, and I love that kind of evidence because you can see, there's nobody manipulating anything. I'm just sitting there. And that for me is the best kind of evidence is when it's live. So I do try to go live whenever I can to be able to document it in that way.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you put a security cam running 24/7 in there for people to look at, you may have a Toy Story scenario going on in your house you're not even aware of.
I don't even, the stuff that goes on, I truly, I always tell people, I try my best to understand what's going on, but there are some things I'm just not always going to know. And I just have to accept that. I have a little bit less control over my own home than the average person does.
You've got your own version of Andy's here. And they
For
all
real.
just erupt.
For real.
Yeah, I got a lot of things I want to get into with you, both from your TikTok side and your YouTube side. When we come back after the break, give you a chance to replenish your drink or what anybody else needs to do. But we'll be back in about 4 minutes or so. Stay with us, guys. You are watching Dead or Live on the Dead or Full Spectrum channel. We'll be back right after this.
We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Now showing on Dead Air Full Spectrum YouTube channel.
New episodes of Extremely Strange coming soon.
Every alternate Thursday on our channel.
Every Thursday. Opposite. Well, that was weird.
In cemeteries across the world, some headstones hold more than just names and dates. They preserve cherished family recipes, etched in stone as a lasting tribute. These recipes are more than instructions for a dish. They are connections to loved ones, memories of shared meals, and a way to keep traditions alive. In this series, we'll be honoring these unique culinary legacies by bringing these recipes to life. With respect and gratitude, we'll cook the dishes exactly as they were meant to be enjoyed.
New episodes of Last Bite coming soon.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars. Crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar.
Nothing today cost a simple $3, except Dead Air Paranormal on Patreon. Make sure you guys get a chance to come join us for all of our interesting content, always adding more to it, and our now near famous Monday night town halls, which again, so many of our viewers that are in chat right now, Melissa Blackman, Jeff Hilton, those that I mentioned earlier, Mary Beth is in there, that you guys can join us in a full-on discussion on Monday nights on screen, just like we're doing tonight with our very special cursed guest, that you guys can always have an opportunity to become part of the family, realistically. As I mentioned in the chat, just as a reminder, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, the reminder bell, and the thumbs up for the algorithm. So Thank you guys again for joining us tonight.
Yeah, the money algorithm.
Yeah. All hail. Now, I wanted
Monday
to bring up.
nights. I want to jump in, George. Monday nights is where we spill the tea, guys. This is the stuff that you don't see on the channel. So,
Yeah,
it's all BTS stuff, right? Behind the scenes. And we'll
off the
talk about
record.
anything and everything.
Right. Now, for those of you last week, and I know this is a little off subject, we'll get back on subject here immediately, but the remote viewing that we had done first with Carrie Hopper and then a review of it with Alex Gasca last Monday. Well, if you guys didn't catch it when I posted it this week, but Alex did a daytime or early evening investigation of that house. She's put it on her YouTube page. So just type in Alex Gasca in YouTube. You'll be able to see her site, which is at Alex Marie Gasca, and can kind of get a real-time view and ambiance of that location and some of the experiences that she had while she was in there. And I think it was on Friday, Alex. I know you're in chat, so tell people more about it. But enough of that tomfoolery. Let's bring our very special guest back on with us, unless, again, something else happens, the dark and mysterious or the paranormal. Paranormal Teej is here with us again. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Now, Ken, we have some more that we want to go over. I've got plenty of time and plenty of questions in there, but I certainly, for the audience, want to provide all the stuff that she provided for you. So if you want to continue with that, I'm all ears.
Yeah, I've got about a handful of these things we want to go over. I guess the next category of things is when you are putting devices down to try to get some type of corroboration or some type of change in the environment around these dolls, So if you want to, I mean, you know what you sent me, but could you talk a little bit to us about where you feel that that's a necessary part of going into their background or, their current form, or, how often do you get these fluctuations in magnetic field, electromagnetic field, static fields, whatever? Tell us a little bit about that, Teej.
Yeah, so I actually run equipment daily. I have a lot of them. They like to do a lot of different things. So I set up equipment all the time for them. I have some who 100% of the time, with 100% accuracy, regardless of what equipment I give them, they will set it off. And some of them can even do it, on command. If I'm like, oh, can you do this? They will. Some of them are that accurate. Other ones, are a little bit more inconsistent. Again, it also depends if they're in their vessel or out of the vessel. If they're not there, I'm not talking to anybody. And so, I'll find that out too. But some of them are more inconsistent. But for the most part, I run equipment for a variety of reasons. One is they think it's fun. For them, it's entertainment. For them, it's like playing with a toy. They enjoy it. We enjoy it. And it's just something fun that we do together to bond. There's also, the aspect too, for me, as an investigator, I think it's really important because, again, environmental videos, like some of the ones we've seen so far, stuff falling down, things being thrown, whatever. I always like to have not just environmental, and some more subjective things. I like to have objective measures too, to make sure that, we can check all the boxes in terms of evidence. And so that's where, things like static sensors and temperature meters and, EMF and all of those different pieces come into play. Is so I can check every box and I can say with confidence, this is paranormal activity. So I like to have measurable stuff as well. Experience stuff is really fun for us. Like I love when my light is flickering. I love when, they're falling down and, stuff's getting knocked down and the shenanigans, like the tripod earlier in the middle of me talking to you. Like, that's fun. But I like the sciencey end too. So I like to have both. So we run gear both for them and for us. So
I think it's nice that you offer and present these things to whomever might be keeping you company, whoever's cohabitating with you to, and that's kind of the way we always look at it too. We brought these things for you to have fun with. I mean, whether you make them go ping and buzz and light them up, totally up to you. But we're bringing this here for your entertainment. So when we play this is a device in front of one particular doll. And when you come back, because I looked into this and I want to know what this device is. It kind of looks like the old Tetris video game where it kind of changes shapes and things like that.
Sensor. It's a thermal sensor. So the different colors correlate with temperature change.
Okay, because I wasn't really familiar with this particular item, but hey, let's all take a look at this.
What's happening? How's this happening? What is this?
Okay, so taking a guess here, red is a heat signature.
Yes.
And so that heat signature continues to kind of morph, amorphous type of evolving.
Yeah. So the story behind that is this room in particular has been notorious since I got my haunted dolls for being roasting hot. It is like 10 degrees hotter than any other room in my house. And I really wanted to explore that. And I wanted to explore where it was coming from, why it was happening, because it was never the case until I got them. So I was like, I think it's coming from somebody. And so I actually tested, I did a whole test after I got that. My brother got me that for Christmas. And I tested every single haunted doll I had with that thermal sensor. And, you know, there were minor temperature fluctuations from other ones, very, very minor, that could be attributed to things like, you know, just air in the room, right? So those kinds of reads, like, I don't really consider those. I'm just like, that's just air being air. But when it is when it's light blue and it beeps, that is a temperature decrease of 1.5 degrees. When it is red and it beeps, it is an increase in temperature of 1.5 degrees. So every red dot you're seeing come up is when the temperature is raising. And so I did not have results like that on any other haunted doll. I had very minimal fluctuations, if any fluctuation at all. And consistently, I've run this piece of equipment on, that's Willow. I've run that piece of equipment on her dozens and dozens of times to see if it's consistent, and it is. So that's really interesting evidence. And it makes sense why I'm always sweating in here now.
Well, you know, but the interesting thing is you're taking that next step. And of course, we don't have video tonight of the other dolls where it didn't trigger. But the idea that you're doing that and trying to do it in a controlled type of manner, and you're testing things that may not be active against things that may be active and seeing if it's repeatable, that's all phenomenal. The way that you're going about doing that. And, you know, however it is, I just like the idea that you're doing it under different conditions. And, you know, you're also doing it to other objects to test the legitimacy of the device itself. I guess that's in a long-winded way of what I'm trying to say, you know.
Yeah, and we also do things like turn off the air in our house if we're running temperature. You know, it's like we turn off the air in the house. There's no heat, there's no cool, there's no fan, there's no nothing. Because, you know, all of those things will skew a temperature device too, right? Like real life will alter the temperature. So if, you know, you're by a fan and you crank the heat, like you're going to have a temperature signal. So, you know, when we test, we try to control it by turning off everything in the house. We test all of them. And not only do I test all of them, I test them all in different locations in the house too, to see like if there's consistency. So like Willow, her temperature will fluctuate like that no matter where in the house I put her. If she is there and I put that thing up to her, she's going to set it off. So I don't know, personally for me, like that, I really like those kinds of readings because I can objectify it with numbers. And for me, that's sometimes what I need. So I like to have it more, as scientific as you can be in terms of in the paranormal, right?
Right, sure. And the reason I compliment you on that is the idea that you are asking yourself the questions that you anticipate anybody who watches this video would ask. So I'm going to test all these things. And if somebody comes up with something, it's like, hey, that's interesting. I didn't think of that. But for the most part, it's like they'd want to see other dolls. They'd want to see different days. They'd want to see if this is repeatable. So when you ask yourself those questions, before you put this out there, at least, you have the answer to that. The next one I thought was interesting. It's about a minute and a half. And these are different flashlights. And we all know about the flashlight thing. And arcing can make them go off and different things. But I want to tell you ahead of time, this is not a call and response video. Questions aren't being asked like, light up this one, light up that one. Can you, if the answer is yes, which I thought was interesting, but I'm just going to let everybody watch it. And you guys, let me know what you think.
No sound on this, so you can describe it if you want.
All right, sure.
Yeah. In this one, so this is Elizabeth, and in this one, I wanted to challenge her to see if she could turn on all of them. So before I started filming, I said, let's see if we can get all 4 on, and then we just ran. And so she did this actually on command when I asked her to turn all 4 on, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, clearly there's strobing in different colors, which is cool. And again, this isn't one of those, I'm going to ask a question 75 times. And when the light finally goes on, I'm going to go, oh, isn't that, wonderful.
Yeah, I don't love using lights for that purpose because of that. I see people, repeat the same question 200 times and they get a light come on and they're like, oh, well, it's yes. I kind of have a problem with that. I am more like, can we get this on? Can we get it off for activity's sake? But
yeah, because that's what happens with a lot of these things is what you don't see on the editing is I've asked if you're a woman 85 times and finally the casing heated up or it started arcing and then the light finally comes on.
Right.
And everybody's going, but there you go. You have your 4 going on. 1, 3, 2, 4 in that order.
We've since practiced to see if she can get all 4 in a row, and now she can do them all in order, which is cool.
Yeah, and there's just saying, hey, I lit up 4 of them. Don't put these restrictions on me. Now it's like,
oh yeah, no, they love doing the equipment. It's for something that's fun, and so I still have new things happening with equipment I've had forever that I've never seen them do before. So that's always fun for us. So we use equipment more so just as engagement. We don't really use it for communication. We do spirit box and things like that for communication, but the equipment we just do because we enjoy it, they enjoy it, and it's fun. So it's kind of like for them.
I mean, communication takes a lot of forms. It can be, people have unspoken communication.
Right.
Where you're just comfortable with someone. No one has to talk, and that's communicating. So in this manner, it's still a form in my mind of communication. It's just,
I'm here.
Yeah, it's like, let's play with Teej's lights,
My new thing is I've been challenging them to go beyond paranormal equipment. Some people are always, for some reason, skeptical of paranormal equipment, even when, you can send them the directions and exactly how it works. They're still like, well, it's paranormal. Maybe it's programmed to do that. So my new challenge for myself and for them is I'm always trying to find new kids' toys that they're able to interact with. That is not paranormal. It's just a regular old kid's toy from Target or whatever. And we've had a lot of success with that too as well now. So that's been really fun for us is just exploring with different just toys that aren't paranormal to see can they turn them on or not.
Right.
Ken,
Yes, sir.
the doll on the couch is staring at me.
Emma.
Do you think he's looking at you? Is that the idea? But the thing is, and why we wanted so much to have you on tonight, is this different perspective that, you treat these dolls like family. You never come under any attack. There have been, dolls that just don't get along for whatever reason. There's a bad vibe going on there. But the idea being is just kind of like, this is not some horror that,
Nope.
You could very easily on social media go the other way. And you could easily, play this up, but it's a different perspective in that the doll phenomena does not have to be always, foreboding and dark. And, there are a lot of different ways to approach this. So that's why we wanted to have you on, because we get the other side of it too. It's like, look out. And when we had Robert the Doll on the show, and it's like, yeah, ask his permission to film him. Something bad is going to happen to you. And it's just, hey, listen, I respect it, but I'm kind of not that guy.
I'm not either. I'm not either. The thing is too, like, I will say, I've been told so many times, like, oh, well, people aren't going to want to watch your stuff if it's not scary and you're posting about the paranormal. I said that I don't care. I don't care if they watch it or not. Like, I am not going to portray them in a way that's not accurate to who they are so people watch them. I want to portray their story as accurately as possible to who the spirit is. And I don't have spirits who are, trying to ruin my life, and I'm not going to paint them that way so people want to watch it. Like, my spirits want to play with their silly little music box all night, and and that's fine. That's my house. And so, I'm not going to play it up for anybody to watch. If people want to watch, lovely. If you don't, that's also fine.
Yeah, that's fine. It's like, I'm showing you what it is to me. If you want to come along for the ride, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. We know, because we've been doing this, how we could get 300,000 views every week. We know how to do it. We just have to pick on a target and tear them apart and go all drama. Everybody would come running. So, but
yeah. The number one question I get asked in my lives every single time I go live, somebody asks me, do you sleep in there? Everybody asks me if I sleep in here. For some reason, that's what everybody wants to know. This is not
leave me hanging.
I don't sleep in here, but like, I will sleep in here. Like, I take naps in here all the time. I am perfectly fine sleeping around them. Like, they're not going to do anything to me while I sleep. Sometimes I'll have interesting dreams. I've had some really interesting dreams from them.
I was going to ask you about that. Well, we'll get to that, because I was going to ask about dreams, but we'll get to that. Maybe George can jump in later. Like, if you have dreams that concern these dolls, so we're going to hold on to that and get through the videos, because that's interesting. This one's a little long. It's about 3.5 minutes long, and we got all the time in the world. It's our show. It's our network. We can do what we want. This one I got a kick out of. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking at this and I just got a kick out of this. So hopefully everybody out there will too. We have a goose.
This was my very first call.
I like what he has around his neck too. That's cool.
Explain the experiment here for us, if you could do that, Taylor.
Yeah. So for this one, this is just a regular Maglite flashlight. And I just set it up. And so this is actually for on my YouTube channel. I make videos telling all of their backstories so people can know kind of who they are about the spirit. And so this was for Lana's YouTube video, and I just set her up with the flashlight. I actually walked out of the room when this was going on, and I was like, oh, turn it on and off, do whatever you want with it. Like, I'm just gonna film this for your story. And this is what she chose to do. So she loves the flashlight though. And she's very funny with it too. She seems to have very good timing usually.
Ken, if you're in voice shot, head on back, Ken, because I lost in the entire screen now. I can see us on the bottom, and I lost everything else. So I'm gonna have to re-kick it back in. Hopefully, I'll check chat, find out what's going on.
We're there. We got a light going off. I am absolutely I get a kick out of this because of the expression or lack of expression of the goose. He's just kind of like looking up, sort of wistfully, pondering the mysteries of life. Why am I here? What is this life doing?
She's also a music box, and she plays the song "You Are My Sunshine." And every once in a while, it does not happen a lot. It's happened maybe 3 times. She'll play her music by herself, and it always just like makes me laugh. It's like I'll just be sitting in here, and she starts playing her song for me, and I get a kick out of it. So.
And for all our viewers out there, this isn't one of those videos where suddenly a zombie is going to pop up on the picture and scare the crap out of you. So.
No, the worst Lana does is she takes her hat off by herself. Very scary.
All right. So do you think now, lights going off, lights going on, lights going off, is this in your mind a sort of energy around this particular object? And is there anything else that you've done with, I'm going to say her, that led you to believe that there's something a little bit different about her?
So Lana in particular, she gives off a lot of EMF, has always kind of been her thing. She is a more quiet spirit. So she does not she's not as much in and out of her vessel, just like poltergeisting around the house like some of mine. She's very quiet and she's very subtle. So with her, typically the main activity I get from her is, again, her music box, where she'll take her hat off, and then a lot of EMF and a lot of like electricity stuff. So basically any kind of light I give her, not only flashlights, just anything with a light usually she goes for. The one other thing we get a lot with Lana that we think is very funny is she is very political. She constantly changes our TV station. We'll be watching TV and she will always change it to some political something or other, which we get a kick out of. And if she thinks what they're saying is stupid, she'll mute it. And if she likes it, she'll turn the volume up. So she's big into the TV. But yeah, so Lana was a really nice starter spirit because she is more quiet and she's more subtle, and the activity just makes us laugh. You can't be scared when your ghost is just like, oh, I want to watch the news. So she was really kind of nice for me as a beginner just to get into haunted dolls, because most of her activity is gear oriented. We really don't get a ton around the house unless we actually give her something to interact with. She's not knocking stuff down. She's not falling over, none of that stuff. So,
right. So here's a question for you. And this comes up an awful lot in the years I've been in the field, the years we've done the show and all the rest of it. People come into possession of these objects, and it could be anything. Could be anything. Could be a box or something. And a lot of times they have to sequester these objects because there's a certain negative connotation to them. This is how they came to them. And they put them in a casing, or they surround them with salt, or they bless them, or they do any one of a number of things for protection. So I got to ask the question, not getting into whatever, religious idealism that you have or dogma. Is there anything that you do when something new is introduced to just kind of, I don't want to be dramatic about it. cleanse the place and surround myself with white light. Although you do you, folks out there, you do you. I don't typically do those things on investigations. I just, go in and do what I'm supposed to do. But do you have anything in that realm at all?
I love this question. I love this question. So containment boxes for haunted objects, I do not believe in, unless the haunted object has been known to cause harm to people physically. If they are dangerous and you have evidence of them being dangerous, not I think they did it and I have a scratch on my arm and now I've decided that the doll did it. If you have evidence that an injury was caused, then maybe I'll suggest a containment box. Otherwise, I will never recommend them. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to do that to a spirit. I don't know. I don't do any rituals. I don't do anything. The only thing that we do is, one, we treat them with respect, and we don't treat them with respect because we're scared they're going to do something if we don't. We treat them with respect because we care about them, and who wants to be treated like crap, right? So we're just nice to be nice. So some people do that out of protection, as they're respectful, so they get something in return from the spirit. That's not why we do it, but we just do that. And then we also just set like verbal expectations when a new object arrives to our house. We just tell them. There are a couple things I just can't have happen in my house. One, you can't open the doors to the outside or the windows. I don't want my pets to go outside, right? Like I don't want to lose my animals. So like, please don't do that. Because they do the doors. I do have my regular doors and my closet doors will open. So they have to know they can't do the outside. And then I say, I'm not worried that they'll do this. And I always tell them that, but no harm to us, our pets, or anybody who comes into the house. And that's about it for the most part. I've had incidents before where they've turned on the TV while I was not home and then blasted the TV so loud you could hear it from the street. So I did kindly ask that they not do that again because the neighbors, that's pretty disruptive too. But other than that, I'm like, you can do anything. Just don't be so disruptive that the neighbors know about it. All right. So
Yeah.
in terms of saging and all that, I don't do anything. And I don't need to be honest with you, to stay safe.
Yeah.
Been fine.
And George is, on and off, the cameras tonight, but he's here now, so I'll bring him in. George, whenever you want to come in, I guess, and this is something, George. Oh, geez, what is that?
That damn doll I picked up from Waverly.
Or vice versa.
I wonder if any of your dolls recognize it, especially the one staring at me from the couch.
I know. I have nothing here. I don't have any props with me tonight.
You always have something.
No, I've got a case full of weird stuff over here, but I'm not turning the camera.
Why is my camera blurry now all of a sudden?
My doll, my fault.
Oh, I thought you were shooting through a filter.
I'm like, what is that? Like, hello, can you see me?
Here's something George and I talk about a lot, and we talk a lot about with our guests, is intention enough? Because the theory is a lot of times something malevolent will pick on someone that they believe is vulnerable. Whether it's by substance abuse and, whatever makes someone vulnerable. I'm going to stick a pin in that thing. That's what I do have a voodoo doll over here.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I change the party if you bring that out. It's going to be a different conversation.
I got some weird stuff that I've been gifted over the years. But is positive intention enough where, fear is a vulnerability, but if you have calm and you're collected about these things and your intention is good, do you think that's enough to bring these things into your home? And make yourself a little less vulnerable because you got positive intentions.
I mean, yeah, I think, there's always going to be negativity out there, and that chooses to rear its head however it does. That's personally why I choose to buy objects that are investigated already, is so I kind of have an idea of what's going on before they get here, and then I can continue that investigation. But I'm just somebody who I can't choose to live in fear like that. And so for me, I'm like, I'm going to put my intention in the right spot. And if something happens, I'll deal with it when it happens. But, thus far, my experience has been positive, and I'm just going to take it at that. And kind of the way I go about it is I treat all of them like they're positive until they show me otherwise. And so far in my house, I've not been shown otherwise. So, but yeah.
All right, final question. I'm going to take a little bit to have George come in, but I got one more question for you. Here's a fun question. If you could communicate with any spirit of any deceased person through an object that once belonged to them that's haunted, some kind of famous object, what would be that object and who would that person be?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
I know.
So this
Abraham Lincoln's top hat is, that's what I'm getting at.
Honestly, I know this, I really want to work with Robert the Doll. Like, that's my dream in life. I have so many theories about him. My dream in life is to work with him. To like a not existing haunted object, I would do something of Freddie Mercury's, to be honest with you. Something of Freddie Mercury's. I love that guy. I don't know, maybe one of his cat paintings or something would be fun for me.
I'd like it to be Jimi Hendrix's guitar, which I tried to take out of the Hard Rock Cafe in Florida in Orlando one time. They kind of frowned on that.
Bad decision. Bad decision. So, oh my God, Taylor, this has been a weird interview tonight. I mean, this is something that's really, really bizarre for us. These type of glitches that go on never ever happen. But
and now I'm blurry, and I don't know why I'm blurry all of a sudden. I was not all night, and then suddenly I became blurry. So we're just gonna be living with that, I guess.
Well, let's take that theory and run with it for a second too, because again, all the energy that's going on behind you and on a daily basis, as you just spoke of before as well, is it personalities? And I know, having gone through all of your TikTok videos, early on particularly, where you were going over the stories of the spirits that inhabit these dolls, which I would like for you to get into how you did the research on that, found that information out. But in that playful spirit or otherwise, your attention is 100% focused right now on this screen. Is there a chance also that their playfulness will interfere with this in one way, shape, or form?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have technology stuff happen a lot. That's a very common, actually, like my main one that does that is this teddy bear right here, Jeremiah. Usually for him, he does this kind of stuff when he's like, hey, talk about me. I get that a lot. Interestingly, we had something very similar on another podcast I was on. And things like that. If he's like frustrated and he wants attention, he'll actually block me from being able to like text me or text people, use my phone, things like that. So a lot of times it's more of like a, hey, I need attention. He is a little kid. And so we get a lot of just like, he gets jealous and he likes to be talked about and he likes to be seen. And so, a lot of technology will, and see, okay, now look at my camera. I talked about him. And now it's perfectly fine. So that's a really good example of I hadn't talked about him yet, and now he doesn't like it, and then he gets his attention and everything.
Forward too. It looks like he slid forward a little bit. I may be, guys. Check back when you look at the replay to find out as far as that's concerned. Aren't you guilty by association for these events happening because you've been working with them on activating electronic devices that you put on their person?
Yeah. We teach a lot of gear too, like a lot of stuff they weren't able to use before, and then we teach them how to do it. And did you see my light just then? It just like flickered majorly in here on this end. But you know, we've explained to them how to do this stuff. We tell them how to activate it, what to do. And so yes, I have some culpability in the situation. I mean, and I egg them on. I think it's funny. I'm not scared of it. So a lot of times we're like laughing at their jokes, and we get such a kick out of it that we do egg them on. So they're definitely encouraged, and they're also encouraged online too. People get a kick out of them. They are funny. They do play pranks. They play jokes. They'll mess with you, and we love them for it. So you know, they can keep on keeping on. But I am sorry that they glitched your stuff before we started, because your technology was totally fine during like the test and everything. There was no problem, and then it was time to start. So I guess Jared needs to be talked about tonight. So maybe our problems will stop.
Give us a little insight on your research behind several of these, if not all of these, dolls that you have behind you. Again, from the ones that I remember you brought up, they seem to be connected almost exclusively to children. And it may be the reason why you speak to them in such a manner. Where and how did you obtain the knowledge of the spirit attached, or the ghosts is attached to these items?
So many of them came from paranormal investigators or paranormal investigation teams where they were investigated for several years before coming to me. And then I got, you know, backstory on them before I bought them. But even when I do that, I like to confirm that information myself personally, because I think that's very important to validate. So we are able to piece their stories together by communicating with them using the spirit box. You can see actually that clip you're scrolling past with the red spirit box screen. Yeah, right there. Like you can hear them talk through it. So we will talk to them through spirit box, and that's how we're able to get a lot of their stories. So spirit box is our primary method of communication. We use other things as well, but I think the spirit box is the most accurate tool that we have. And so, you know, we ask them about themselves, and some of them are very forthcoming and they'll just tell you everything there is to know. Some of them won't tell you for a very long time, and they won't talk to you for months. And then one day they'll just show up and communicate. But spirit box is the primary way that we piece together their stories, who they are. Again, many of them came with stories. Not all of them did, but many of them have. So
now what's this one here? It looks like you were
so that's a TikTok headquarters. Yes. So Jeremiah and Hoshiko got to go to TikTok headquarters with us in LA. We brought them with. It was a riot. It was not a paranormal thing. So it was a bunch of other creators who were there. Nobody did anything paranormal except for me. So we put them on the stage in front of all the other creators, and we let them rock and roll and do their thing in front of everybody. So we had the opportunity to teach some influencers what haunted dolls are all about there. It was really fun, and we stayed in the Culver Hotel while we were out there and did a paranormal investigation there as well. So
fascinating, really, really fascinating. Now, this is not just your hobby, so to speak. What you are dealing with is an inclusion of this to already your paranormal background. Now, you go back to your TikTok posts, which I think number somewhere around 12 million posts on your TikTok. There's a whole bunch on there. But you started posting about books you've read. So you're a researcher by nature.
yeah. I like to read a lot. That was okay. So my TikTok was not supposed to be paranormal. I was not going to share any of this. I was actually going to make a book talk. I started TikTok like 6 months ago. Like this is new, brand new. I was just posting about books that I read and like spooky books and things like that. And I just happened to have haunted dolls, and I had posted just like 2 or 3 videos of them, and it was not supposed to be paranormal TikTok at all. Actually, in fact, it was just supposed to be me sharing my personal life and, you know, what I liked, and people found it and kind of fell in love with them. And so I kept posting more, and it kind of grew itself. I had no real interest in being in social media at all. This was just like a personal record of here's my life. Like this is the person that I am, and my haunted dolls were part of that. And the public found them and went from there. So it was a blast. It's been a really interesting journey for us. I've always said I think that is kind of the magic of why we've been able to do well on social media, is because we were never really, this was never our intention. Our intention was never for people to watch. I was just trying to share my life, and people found it interesting. And so I took that as an opportunity to just educate people, and on the paranormal, on the existence of positive spirits, and just get to know them for who they are. We do this because we love it, and we want to help other people. There are so many more people out there that experience haunted objects than you ever realize. You hear people who say, oh, I'm just a haunted person. I thought I had a haunted house, and then I moved again, and the paranormal activity followed me. And I always think in those cases, I'm like, no, you're not a haunted person. You have a haunted object in your possessions, and it's going with you, and we've had the opportunity to help so many people, just by putting ourselves out there and what we do. So many people that were scared and had something that they didn't understand, and wanted to understand. And so, that's a huge part of our mission, is just helping people realize that just because you have a haunted object doesn't mean you're in danger. It doesn't mean you're unsafe. And they may be being active just because they want to be understood, and to find out who they are. So.
And you, again, as I just said, and we will reiterate, is that you are also a seasoned investigator. You just recently hit a couple of different cemeteries, and you performed the Estes method. My question to you would be: obviously, you're comfortable traveling with some of these dolls. You went out to
Oh
the
yeah.
TikTok headquarters. Have you incorporated them in some of these exterior investigations? In other words, are there some that just really enhance what it is you're doing?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So CL is somebody who we bring with us everywhere. He's like a little clown doll. He is one of my guys. He is very, very gifted. And he's also very protective. So we actually did get ourselves into a bit of a situation at a cemetery that we went to. And I truly believe if CL wasn't there, I probably would have brought that spirit home with me. It was not great. And CL helped, clear that and get us out safely. And also when we get home, we'll do Estes method with our haunted dolls, and they will give us further information of what they saw when we were on those investigations, and help verify and things like that. So yeah, we do bring them along with us. Some of them, not all of them. CL goes with us quite a bit. Aitan comes with us. She's actually not in this room. She's in my husband's office, but Aitan will go. We brought Jeremiah is good to bring, if there are other kids around, especially just because he's such a good communicator for his age, that he can help like other kids communicate with us using Estes and things like that. And Hoshi will also help with like translating for other spirits. So like if there's a spirit who can't communicate super effectively on Estes, Hoshi a lot of times will like just say it for us, which is helpful. So we do find them to be actually very very helpful on investigations. And so we try to incorporate them in unique ways however we can. And some of them really enjoy it. That's what matters to us. If they didn't want to do it, we wouldn't. But a lot of them, they take it as their personal mission to come help us, and that's what we do. So.
And again, apologies in the first hour where I was trying to get everything situated in the background. So if it's a redundant question, I apologize. But in your discussion so far, have you brought up the topic of one such as Robert the Doll or Annabelle, and how somebody can decipher whether or not you have rows and rows of dolls like you have on the shelves behind you, all being from a positive energy, and then those that are listed as dark energy, how someone can determine that, who wants to be a collector?
Yeah, so this is a great question. A lot of times you'll see, like if you're buying a known haunted object, you'll see them classified as positive, neutral, or negative. And when you are seeing those classifications, it's very subjective from person to person. But my personal belief in those statements is I go based on behavior, because I always say, positive spirits can have negative emotions, just like, you being upset one day doesn't make you a bad person, right? It just means you had a bad day. So I like to use those to mean behavior. So, for me, a positive spirit is a spirit who is they're safe. There is no known history of danger. That doesn't mean that they're not a little sassy. I have some real sassy positive spirits who you'll hear words from, but they're safe to be around. They're never going to be a danger. A negative is what Annabelle and Robert are known to be. I have additional theories on those two in particular, especially Robert, which is why I'm so interested in working with him. But negatives are those who have been known to cause harm. They have caused harm in the past, and there's expectation that they'll cause harm in the future. And then a neutral is somewhere in between. So a neutral is kind of where I actually think, like, Robert the doll may fall into, where it's a spirit who, can be positive and can be okay. However, they have firm boundaries, and they will react negatively if you cross those boundaries, whatever they may be. And that's when you may have issues with them. So I think neutrals, they're more dependent on the household that they're in and the environment that they're in, because their environment can cause them to either be totally fine or cause them to not be totally fine. So I kind of think of it in terms of behavior. Just because a spirit is sassy doesn't mean that they're negative or they're unsafe. It just means that they got a mouth on them, which again, I live with quite a few of those. I find them hilarious. But yeah, so that's more behavioral than anything to me. And in my experience, it's not, I really don't believe that spirits in nature are, all negative or out to be harmful. I actually think there's way more positives out there than negatives. And a lot of times those that are negative are negative for a reason. And a lot of times that's based on how they've been treated and the experiences that they've had. So, yeah, it's my spiel.
Well, even some of the stories of the children that are attached to these dolls have had some horrific past behind them. So I think realistically, in the way that you interact, gives them that foundation that they were lacking in that previous life experience. So I think that's wonderful. How many dolls do you have collected total right now?
I think I'm at like 53. Because
53.
There's a bunch
different
here
personalities.
and then there's more over there. And there's some in my husband's office.
And I know that you do have animals. They have no problems. There's no conflict between the two. Or
No,
just
I actually, the opposite. My cats love my haunted dolls. They're in this room 24 hours a day. They will lay on the shelves on their laps and things like that. Like, they're actually very drawn to them. So my pets are actually very interested in them, which was surprising. That was something that was holding me off from collecting for a while, because I didn't want to put my pets into a situation, before I knew better. But I learned very quickly. Like, the first day Lana came, it was so funny. Like, I put her out like on my mantle, and all four of my cats were in a circle around her, just like staring at her. And I was like, what the heck is this about? I was like, what is going on? But they're very drawn to them. And there are certain ones that are animal magnets more than others. Jer and Hoshi, the animals are just obsessed with. Emma is another one who's right here, that the animals love. Barb is a big hit with animals. So my animals are actually quite drawn to them. I've never had an issue. Sometimes we have funny stuff where, like, they're clearly seeing something I'm not seeing, and they're like kind of bolting around about it and like playing, but they actually seem to enjoy it. So I was surprised. And so I think that's a common misconception, that you can't have haunted objects and pets. You absolutely can. I mean, I have 7 animals. I've never had a problem. In fact, I actually feel like they're happier now, because when I'm not home, they have somebody to hang out with. So it's a win-win for us.
Yeah, there's no conflict, especially when one of your pets is a evil serpent.
For real. That we bought for one of our haunted dolls, actually.
Yeah, yeah, that's again interesting stories you guys will find on her TikTok account and YouTube. There's so much out there for everybody to check out, and I think uh, this is going to be an ongoing conversation between us. Now, I know you're busy 3 days a week. You're going live. Besides that, but we have a ton of stuff that I would love to cover. Also, Ken, if you wanted to come back in here. But I wanted to I wanted to say this has been one of the most frustratingly wonderful conversations tonight. Tell everybody about some of the places you're going to be going here soon.
Yeah, so we are going to the Dominican Republic next month for it's actually a trip, but we are planning on doing some investigation and things out there when we're there, which I'm really excited about. We are also doing a haunted retreat in Vermont with a friend of mine, Shane from Green Mountain Paranormal. We are going to be staying at a house that is haunted. It is actually an event that the public can come to and investigate with us, which will be our first time doing that. We've done collabs with other creators, but we've never done something where like the public can come and learn with us and from us and work together. So we'll be doing that in December, which is super exciting. I'm looking at doing another haunted hotel, maybe in Wisconsin, probably this summer as well. So, and I got another cemetery planned for next weekend. So we're gonna be all over the place, but it's good. It's really good. And I am going to be seeing Annabelle this year as well, which I'm stoked about. So we'll let you know how that goes.
The last thing I wanted to come back full circle. Ken wanted to talk to you about dreams. Ken, you want
Yes.
to take over that?
Yeah, sure. Because that was something that I'm wondering before. You say you don't sleep in the room, but it's not necessarily nightmares, or maybe it is, or dreams, but do these dolls ever inhabit your dreams?
Yes. Quite frequently. I would say once every probably 2 weeks. I get somebody, not all of them do it, but some do. It's a variety of things. A lot of times it's just like coming to share a part of who they are. Sometimes I've seen actually what they look like when they were alive, which is very interesting, and get to like see a part of their story of what makes them them, which is always very cool. I like knowing who they were as a person. So I've had that. Some of them don't want me to see them, so I will be like in their perspective, which is interesting, like living their experience in the dream. And then other times we get very silly stuff. Like just this week, Sandy, who's right here, I got a dream from her and she was pointing out all of the places on her dress that are dirty to justify why she needs a new dress. I have had dreams where somebody is trying to wake me up because they want me to get the queso dip from the fridge. So I've had funny stuff too. But a lot of times it's just like sharing pieces of their life and what makes them them. And so that's also how we get some of their stories, is because we get to see it, which is really fun.
Yeah, I think that I'm not going to say dreams are entirely communication with the other side.
Yeah.
But I would not dismiss the idea that dreams can be used for communication, especially when you're in that beta state.
Yeah.
Your mind is open, because whether it's a crisis apparition, whether it's an omen or a harbinger or communication, I think you're very fortunate to have that, as long as you're good with it.
Oh yeah, I'm fine with
And
it.
to have this emotional content, it's like, here's a doll, this is their story as best I know. But if it's possible to have that emotional content, well, this is where I'm from, and the things that you don't find on paper and in books,
Yeah.
that's remarkable. That's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm always like so grateful when it happens, because it's really cool to just like get to see a piece of them, because even through spirit, you can't get that through spirit box, you don't get a visual. So having that visual piece is really cool.
Yeah. Outstanding.
We will be keeping an eye out for your 24-hour cam in the doll room.
I love that. I love it.
Paranormal Teej on TikTok, on YouTube, and on Linktree. And again, apologies to the chat that we couldn't put any of your comments up or your questions during the interview tonight. We will have back on this show again this wonderful lady Taylor and her dolls. So, and I'm sure next time she'll have about 150 of them. So we're going to
Probably.
keep
Right.
I got one coming in the mail tomorrow.
We will
sending
keep
this one.
That's
All
it.
right.
Yeah, that little guy. We will keep asking her until the restraining order comes in. Fair enough.
I would love to be back. This was amazing. Really, I really appreciate you guys.
We would love to have you back. And as another invitation, if you ever have a free Monday night and you would like to join us on our town hall, where all of these people in chat are actually on screen.
Oh, cool.
And we all get to know each other. We go anywhere and anywhere. You would be more than accepted. They'd love to see you and just talk about this stuff or tell you their own stories. And
I would love to. That sounds so cool.
We'll be in touch on that. I think you would have an absolute blast there. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And chances are that Ken and I would have a night off at that point in time because they'll take over the show with you. No question about it.
They don't want to talk to us.
I love to talk.
They want to talk to us.
Well, do us a favor, Taylor. Don't hang up. Stay with us for a second. But for everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. As usual, we appreciate everything. Hit that subscribe button, the thumbs up, and the reminder bell. And for our Patreon
new viewers, everyone who joined in from Taylor's posse, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for checking in on us tonight.
Absolutely. We thank you guys. And Town Hall people, we'll see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Until then, you've been watching Dead or Alive on the Dead or Full Spectrum channel. Take care, guys. We'll see you again.
I see her rolling up over black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips,